Welcome to the Winning Agendas coverage of the Reddit Twilight Struggle League. My name is Jesse Marshall, and we've got a game as the USSR here against Rktscience. Good morning to us and good evening to them. Thank you and good luck to you also. So USSR, we've got decolonization in our opening hand, which we'll think about whether we want to headline. But in any event, we'll go with our standard setup. So in terms of headlines here, it's kind of an interesting one. Decolonization is obviously the most appealing, but also the most risky, since we don't have defectors. So generally, if I have decol or destyle and no defectors, I'm not going to headline it on turn one. Not that I would often headline destyle anyway on turn one. Our other options, though, are quite limited. It's probably going to be Arab-Israeli war, depending on what happens here. Yeah, so we haven't got a great coup card either, so we're going to have no 4-ops, so we'll have to use Warsaw Pact. If we get red scared, then this hand is going to be super trash. So I think let's just try and make hay while the sun shines, because we're not going to be cooing for stability Italy with this hand, with no socialist governments either. So let's go ahead and do this. All right, well, that indicates potentially not a great hand on our opponent's part. So Asia scoring out of the way. So decol would have been an amazing headline because it would have been worth a lot of victory points. But Asia scoring, not exactly your typical USA headlines, so couldn't really be helped, and they would have known that we would have been reasonably reticent to headline decol given we didn't have defectors, although they might not know we didn't have it. Anyway, let's go with the Iran coup, and it's a good roll, so that's a good start. A very hot cup of tea here. DEFCON obviously only at 4, so we could get hit by a 4-op retaliatory coup. But if we do, then we get to pull the trigger, I should say, on decolonization, which is not too bad. Okay, so it is a relatively questionable hand for our opponent by the looks of things, which the Asia scoring headline did sort of indicate. In that event, we have a couple of options. We can decol now to try and make it a little harder for them to take Thailand, given that they had to use a 3-op. That was a very bad event for them, just to escape the AI war. The other thing that we can do is try and solidify the Middle East if we think that they have the Middle East scoring card, or we can coup Egypt, or we can coup Malaysia. I think there's a decent chance that our opponent does have the Middle East scoring card, but we don't have an effective 3-op to be able to take Iraq and take Syria in the same action round. We also don't really have an effective 3-op to take France, although we kind of do. So we can use 5U plan. It's not the end of the world to do that. So I think we do just decol here into Algeria, Thailand, definitely. And then the other two kind of have to think about. It's probably allow us to give us adjacency to Thailand and Angola or South Africa, probably South Africa at this point, and then we'll let that be. So we're threatening both France and Thailand with that play. I mean, one of the reasons why decolonization is one of the better cards to have as the USSR on turn 1, although Thailand obviously is vulnerable here to a counter coup. They could have had the sick read on us and just been waiting for us to do that at DEFCON 4 so they can use their sweet 4-op card. But them not using a 4-op card to curse back in Iran and having Asia scoring as a headline kind of indicates to me that they may have a weaker hand, although they could be doing something like trying to hold red scare over to turn 2, although the question would be, why not just play it on turn 1 if that's the case? Because as we said in our headline phase, if we'd been red scared this turn, that would have been not the best at all. So we don't have too many issues to manage in our hand, other than the fact that 5-year plan could give them containment. Like there's a 1 in 4 chance that we're going to give them containment if we use that to take France. So it is a bit of a bummer if it happens. Vivid Squire, welcome down. Welcome to the chat. So US-Japan, they did have the 4-op, and they're going with take France, which is interesting. So I think we'll just overprotect Thailand here. And try and solidify. I know that Asia's been scored. And it does seem to me that there's a reasonable chance they have the Middle East scoring card. Although the question would be, if they had the Middle East scoring card, why would they not headline that? And why would they headline Asia scoring? So I'm gonna backtrack on that. I think it's very unlikely they have the Middle East scoring card this turn, but they are being quiet. And they did have Red Scare. Wow, okay, this is really intriguing me. Maybe they do have the Middle East scoring card, and they just really wanted to get Asia out of the way. I am extremely confused by all of that. So now, do we want to coup Iran? I think the answer is yes. But do we want to use 5-year plan? Yes. So let's coup Iran with 5-year plan. I think we'll see what we give them first, actually. Trigger event. Of course. Okay. Well, it was 1 in 3 at that point, so we can't really complain too much. But we rolled a 5 again, so we also can't complain about that. Because even though they have containment, we've now deprived them of some crucial access. And they're not going to be killing us in Thailand anytime soon. So we've stabilized the Middle East. We've got excellent access in Asia. We've got the war, which means we can go into Pakistan. So that's what we're going to try and do with our last 2 action rounds, is just fill up as much as we can in Asia. We could fight them for South Korea. Did they play US-Japan? Yeah, they did. So they might be a little more unwilling to move into South Korea straight away. Also, they might not see it as a priority since it's already been scored. Let's play Fidel to even up Middle East battlegrounds. And then I think with the last 2 influence, I'd probably want to take Algeria and move into Pakistan. Or perhaps put 1 in South Korea might be better. Okay, Comecon, fair enough. We'll take Austria and Yugoslavia. It's always an interesting strategy as the USA player to go into Egypt. I mean, you obviously get the chance to go for Libya. Stream is still on MTG instead of TS. That's so annoying, because I changed the games on OBS, but it sometimes doesn't change it on Twitch, which is extremely frustrating. Sometimes I have to tell it to do a different game on Twitch, and then it definitely changes it on Twitch. But yeah, anyway, sorry about that. That is not ideal. Well, they are going very aggressively for this Middle East score. I mean, I guess they know that the war is out of the way. Thanks for the follow. And in any event, it's going to be unlikely that we're going to succeed on a 6. But that is still a little funny. I think we'll just move into Africa a little here. We know Asia's not coming back to turn 3 anyway. So we've given them a couple of ops with containment, which was unfortunate. That was what got picked with the 5-year plan, but I think that coup on Iran was pretty important for all of the aforementioned access reasons. Okay, they had CIA, and they've massively overprotected themselves in Europe. which we didn't draw because that would have been a decent headline for us there actually to get Europe scoring. I think we'll just take the captured Nazi scientist. Might try and hold UN intervention depending on what else happens here. But yeah, we'll take the CNS to start with. And we've got a free independent Reds, which is good. Also got my camera in a weird spot here, I just realized. I'm gonna move it over there. It was running a little behind when I was setting up this stream. So we succeeded, and what did they headline? Duck and cover. Okay, so no coup for us, which is fair enough from them. So where do we want to start here? I think we want to go into South Korea. Seems like a good option. Spreading into Zaire also wouldn't be bad. Evening things up in the Middle East to be okay, and it only does cost us 3 ops to take Jordan and Syria, and that blocks them off from Saudi Arabia. So that could be okay. I think maybe we will go with that. It just kind of creates a bit of a stalemate everywhere. We could also look to take more countries in Europe, although I think that's a bit more of a losing proposition. This is a bit of a defensive play. Maybe I don't love that actually. It is 3 VPs if they score it. If they have the scoring card now. Maybe I prefer this actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. At least we're threatening South Korea a little. At the same time as repairing the Middle East issues. We could have just straight up taken South Korea there. Yeah, I'm really curious about their turn 1 hand. So they headlined Asia scoring despite having Red Scare, which would have been devastating. And they led off with Suez Crisis rather than one of their 4 ops. So yeah, I'm not really sure why they didn't counter coup Iran straight away. Anyway, it is what it is, and it worked out reasonably for them. So the question in this hand, I think, is whether we want to space NORAD or whether we want to UN intervention it. I do kind of like holding UN intervention in case we draw CIA back. Yeah, because I think Keller's Gamer, to give a bit more context to that, if we had been red scared last turn, our hand was full of 3s and 2s, which is really not where you want to be. Obviously, we invented Decol, and we probably would have invented Fidel, but it would have really limited our spread elsewhere if we'd been red scared. So, interesting. Okay. So dominating in Europe, which we're just not going to be able to counteract at this point. I mean, we could de Gaulle. So if we were to de Gaulle, they can just repair it with 1 op. So I don't particularly love that as a use of 3 operations points. I think I much prefer punishing them for playing the scoring card by threatening South Korea. Yeah, I think a lot of people really like Middle East scoring as a turn 1 headline for the US, but I think Red Scare Purge may just be the strongest turn 1 headline. It's such a problem for the Soviet player to be at -1 influence on, or -1 operations points on turn 1, because it's so important for you to spread and create threats. Anyway, I'm certainly very glad that they didn't headline it, but maybe they had the sick read on Decol and the sick read that we wouldn't headline it. But yeah, if we'd gone ahead and headlined Decol into their Asia scoring, that would have been pretty amazing. Okay, so they chose to commit their 4 op to South Korea, which is, they might have the war and they may be willing to space it this turn, so that might explain that. I think we'll start moving into Pakistan and India. And just make sure that we tie up all of these countries before the end of the turn. We could move into Zaire as well, but I'm not too fussed about that. So we evened up the scoring somewhat. So deprived our opponent of a couple of victory points at least. That was good. And that gets us, I think we will use the UN intervention here. Really don't want to give them NORAD, and I do want to use these operations points. Probably holding Truman is better, considering we don't really want to get those 2 ops from Austria removed. Yeah, and we could also UN intervention Truman, but that's pretty bad. Like, Truman's one that we want to get out of the deck, and yeah, that's just terrible. We're not going to do that. Alright, so the thing is, if we do that, we lose an action round, which means we are going to have to play Truman, and we are going to lose those 2 influence in Austria. So perhaps we just bite the bullet, because they're not going to play Warsaw Pact this turn because we did last turn. So we'll just cop those 2 influence in Austria. And we'll take India. And then I think with our last 3 influence, we'll take Burma and Zaire. Because that makes it a little less painful for us to headline CIA as well. Or to AR1 CIA, rather. We would not headline it, because we would not want to run into a duck and cover headline again from our opponent. So our opponent with only 2 countries in Asia, one of which is vulnerable to a war. I feel like as the USSR, if you can get a strong position in Asia, you can, go a long way towards winning the game. We're not behind in the Middle East too far, so I'm not too upset about the way that this has worked out. NASA's still in the deck, so there's going to be a bit of disruption in the next turn and a half to their Middle East plans, and we've got some influence in Africa, which is better than sometimes as the USSR in the early war, and we've still got the opportunity to coup Panama as well next turn. Okay, so we didn't draw the 5-year plan. We drew UN intervention again, which we can use. We drew D-Style, which is amazing, and that's going to allow us to do a little bit more in South America. We know that they've got defectors, so I think we'll just headline Europe scoring and hope that they defectors it, although they know we've got Europe scoring as well, so they're unlikely to defectors. It's a bit of a game of chicken, really, here. Are they going to headline defectors or not? I think the answer is they're probably not, because it's too much of a risk, but we'll give it a go anyway. They went their Middle East scoring card, fair enough. We had to get Europe scoring out of the way anyway, and we couldn't risk Asia scoring getting defectors, so all of that was fine for us, I think. I think we might UN intervention, duck and cover here. Just to get that happening. Because we don't want to give them the VPs. We'd rather have a coup. And I think we're pretty happy to coup Panama. East European unrest is going to be a little awkward just for our... we haven't got Warsaw Pact yet, so we're a little behind on influence in Eastern Europe. Keeps them out of Panama, but no influence of our own, but that's okay because we've got D-Style. So we know they've got Korean War on NASA, at the very least, and Romanian abdication. So we might wait for that Romanian abdication before we pull the trigger on D-Style, depending on what happens here. So failed on the war. We needed no chance to succeed because Israel counts itself for Arab-Israeli war purposes. Yeah, I don't think Asia's going to get a lot better, so we might as well just get that out of the way now. And it was good that Europe came out on turn 3 because that only being scored once in the early war. I mean, obviously it would have been better if we'd got to 5-year plan on turn 3, but we didn't hold on to the 5-year plan, so it was kind of our own fault. So they've used NASA there. I think we can just afford to Formosan Resolution coup Colombia here. It gives them the opportunity to coup back. The other option is to de-Stalinization now. Say the 4 influence out of South Korea. Put 2 into Venezuela, 1 into Chile, 1 into Mexico. I think that's actually not too bad. We might just do that. Yep, so 2 into Venezuela, 1 into Chile, 1 into Mexico. I think those are our 4 most disposable. Maybe we leave 1 in South Korea actually and take the 1 out of Finland. That's better. We don't really have any other extra influence anyway, do we? No. Yeah, so let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll go straight away East European unrest to solidify this in case we get some... I mean, they could just realign straight up here. That's always possible. It's a high risk but high reward response to de-Stalinization always, to just go for the realign straight away. De-Stal sounds good. Careless Gamer, yeah. I think it was the time to pull the trigger on it, even though we hadn't got the free Romanian influence yet. They may play Romanian abdication now, which would be a little more annoying. Am I going to play in the Blitz League? Well, if I did, I probably would need to not commentate because I can't really blitz and commentate, unfortunately. Let's trigger that. I don't think that Blitz Twilight Struggle is my jam necessarily, but I'll think about it. So 2 in Brazil, and we'll take back Venezuela, and then we'll probably go. And this is an okay situation to be in. Like the fact that they dedicated resources there to put us in a position where we're now out of Voice of America range in that region is not too bad. So we can go Mexico, Argentina, I think is the way to go now. So there's that Romanian abdication for 1 in Mexico. All right, well, I think we'll just fill up Mexico. Not too concerned about that. So what else do we know that they've got in hand? We know they've got Korean War, and they've got 3 cards left in hand. Have all the 4-ops come out now? Marshall Plan, NATO, nuclear test ban, and they had Red Scare Purge and US Japan on turn 1. Yes, so they're not guaranteed to have a 4-up. I'm just thinking about whether we want to randomly try and get them with blockade. Yeah, I think we'll think about that next action round. For now, we'll just take Mexico. We'll see whether they space Korean War here. Yep, they did indeed space the Korean War. I think we'll just leave blockade in the deck for later. We're not going to take Egypt because Sadat and Middle East scoring's already happened, so we'll just move into Argentina for now. We also won't take Chile. We won't put extra influence in Chile for a couple of reasons. One is it's an easier realign target than realigning 2 countries, and the other is that we've got okay, IP war failed. That's good. The other is that we've got Allende, which can fill up Chile anyway in the deck. So this is a pretty strong hand, especially since we've got the South America scoring card to hopefully get some immediate rewards for this South America nonsense. We didn't get Fidel in the early war because we used it for operations points, so Liberation Theology could also be good. Socialist governments is not going to do a lot for us, so we'll just use that for operations. Arms race could be some extra VPs. Shea gets us Colombia if we wanted to headline it and gives us a chance to kick them out of Costa Rica. Defectors is gone, so our headline is definitely going to happen. I think, yeah, the question is, Do we want Shay or do we want Liberation Theology? Both of them are sweet. We may hold on to Shay until after we play this Panama Canal Returns, because it just at least makes the Costa Rica coup, which is our only other Shay coup after Colombia, at least a little better. The thing is, though, we're probably not going to play Panama Canal Returns before we score South America. So it's a bit of a much of a muchness in some ways. I think it's probably Liberation Theology to threaten the Central America control. So 2 in Panama, 1 in Cuba. And then probably coup Panama. If we, it's assuming we get the coup. But yeah, I think Liberation Theology it is. Okay, well, that's a bit dicey for us. It does do something for us, though, in that it relieves us of the obligation to coup, because they can't degrade DEFCON and they're going to be able to coup us anyway. So we can just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Overprotect there. Yeah, so then if they coup Venezuela, we can Shay, coup Colombia, Costa Rica. They can try coupping Brazil, and then we can try and realign. Maybe that's not ideal. Anyway, they might fail in the coup in Venezuela. I think we do want to fill up, and I think we want to overprotect Brazil. So I think we're kind of a little bit. That is where we want to be. We can also counter coup once, so we can counter coup Venezuela here. They could coup Argentina, which would be not perfect for us. But I still think we'd probably Shay, just to give ourselves the domination, because the annoying thing is going to be if we just have to keep fighting and fighting and fighting here until eventually we lose control of 3 battlegrounds. That'll be not good at all. Like if we let them even up the battlegrounds, that's the worst outcome of all. And I think realistically they can't let us, like they can't just coup Venezuela and let us have control of Central America. That's pretty awful for them. Yeah, cool. So now we get to Shay just for like the rub-ins, because we can take this and this, which is huge because it's 2 extra victory points in South America, plus it protects Mexico with a really strong roll. So very glad we held on to Shay there. Obviously we're now vulnerable to a coup, but we do still have a counter coup with a 3-up that we can take, and we've got the VPs from arms race. So assuming that they don't coup Venezuela this action round, they're coup with Allende. Interesting. Once okay. So they're giving up on South America. So we have a choice now about whether we want to fight in Africa a bit more, but I think we just have to bank the VPs. Is there something else that we can annoy them with? I guess taking Cuba and yeah, so like this influence in Angola is going next turn, next action round if we don't do anything. So we can go two into Cuba and 1 into Botswana or South Africa. It doesn't feel great. I think we just do this and then they coup Angola and then we take Cuba. Like the reverse situation is just not doing heaps for us. And now we can more safely coup them back in Africa, knowing we don't need to counter coup in South America. Okay, well that's an incredibly handy bit of tempo for us. So I almost want to overprotect Angola here. think we'll try and hold on to this little sub-region in Africa. Not something that I do very often, overprotecting Angola, but I think here it may just be worthwhile. We could have taken the arms race VPs there as well. That possibly could have been a better use of our time. Like if they coup with the 3 up now, then we do miss out on the opportunity to event arms race this turn. Though we could. Yeah, pushing opponents into using high ops cards for coups is good because it's a more inefficient way of using your VPs. The Hayek is now following. Welcome down. Thanks for the follow. Yeah. So yeah, the fact that they've now used Isuri for the coup, that is pretty sweet. Yes, we lose Angola, but we can actually coup back if we want to, and I think we will, actually. So a poor roll, and now they get another shot at it, but that was okay. We really want them to go to space, because we've got this one small step. I think they're probably unlikely to go to space, especially since we drew 2 of the best USSR events in the mid-war. They could have We Will Bury You, they could have OPEC. Eventing Colonial Rearguards is completely fair enough. So we'll just respond by taking back Angola and Algeria. Thailand being slightly vulnerable is not good. So we are going to have to use our Panama Canal Return influence probably to play into Thailand because we can't afford for them to break that AR6 really. Oh, sorry, AR7. Oh, we can afford for it, but it's not good. We want to be back in the driver's seat for Thailand, for Southeast Asia scoring, rather. So cooing Mexico got us, okay. Now, do we give them no red now? Or do we give them Panama Canal returned? I'm kind of tempted to give them no rad, although it is obviously pretty bad if we don't draw Quagmire. So we're only on turn 4. Yeah, I think no rad's probably too strong for us to give them. We'll just... We can afford to open up Venezuela a tiny bit. Like, they just had more ops this turn. If they don't coup, like if they choose to take Venezuela here instead of cooing, I think that's okay. Especially since that leaves Mexico hanging for us to try again next turn. Yeah, I think we just couldn't really afford to give them this turn. There's just too many places around the board where we have influence in countries that they also have influence in that it's just too strong. Good to see that you agree, Careless Gamer. Yeah, it's a really, really interestingly poised game with South America already scored, Asia already scored, Europe already scored. Like, they're the regions that have pretty much been decided, largely. Southeast Asia is one that hasn't, so I'm really happy to see that Vietnam revolts come out. They filled up Mexico, so we really want to fill up Cuba here just to even up the scoring in Central America. We've got a lot of strong US cards in hand here. This is part of the problem with holding NORAD over rather than spacing it last turn. We can also salt negotiations for something. Salt negotiations for Korean War could be quite a blowout. But that's about all at the moment. We can also play the China card, get the China card back. All of that doesn't really do a lot to actually deal with the issues in our hand, though. We can also bear trap ourselves, which we don't want to do ever. So what do we headline here? Probably Cambridge 5. I think... Could be Sadat expels Soviets. But I think Cambridge 5 at least gives us a shot. Red Scare. that is a huge problem for us. So no scoring cards, at least. I think we'll just take the 5 VPs from Southeast Asia scoring on our next action round, but let's have a coup first. So what can we space this turn? I think we'll space Bear Trap, especially since we're under Red Scare. We may end up playing No Rad this turn. Where do we want to coup? Probably Nigeria. So we can probably coup Nigeria with Sadat. Okay. Yeah, this is a rough hand. So we might need to actually, we'll try space Bear Trap reasonably early so that we can hopefully space No Rad as well. We might need to hold Voice of America and Grain Sales over by doing the double China card play this turn. Or rather the China card into Cultural Revolution play. But before we do that, let's not get hasty on getting rid of this SALT negotiations. Is there anything else that we can do? I just want to take back Venezuela. I want to use some operations. I'm just trying to decide if we have realistically any usable operations. I think the China card is probably it, but using the China card for 3 ops feels pretty bad. But I think it's our only option. So we can go 1 in Venezuela, 2 in Cuba. We know they don't have the scoring card. I do want to kind of get 1 into Angola so they can't flip it with a 3-op card as well. Yeah, this is a really, really rough hand. The other thing is if we're not actually going to SALT negotiations, which is another way to improve our hand size, then we can just play it here. Yeah, it was mine and OBS's fault combined. We'll blame OBS mainly though. So is there anything that we particularly want to grab? I think Red Scare or Korean War are our best targets for SALT. But are either of them better than just playing into Venezuela and then maybe overprotect Angola? I think probably not, because we'd have to improve DEFCON, which is not really where we want to be, considering we've got the weaker, we have no free operations to coup anyway to reduce DEFCON back down. So I think let's just go with that. Hopefully they don't sniff the Southeast Asia scoring in the wins. I mean, this turn's a bit of a write-off, like we're going to fall behind somewhere, so I think we've just got to accept that. And hope that they've got lots of things like Willy Brandt that cause them problems too. Take the 5. Fidel go to space, hopefully no. Success, that's really annoying. Well, we'll space Bear Trap first. Good, at least deny them another space, I guess. So we're gonna play 3 more cards. So it's gonna be, what, China card, Cultural Revolution, No Rad, hold Voice of America, Grain Sales. Hey. Yeah, if you 5-year plan, oof, yeah, that's true. We did play 5-year plan, but it was on turn 2, I think, or turn 1. Yeah, so we played it on turn 1, and then I don't think it's been back since. So we can take Cuba with the China card. And then what's the best use of our other influence? It's probably actually Botswana and Cuba, but we can't take both because we've only got 3 influence with the China card. Oh dear. I still think we'd probably take Botswana, especially since they just realigned themselves 1 out of Angola, which was pretty amazing for us. So yeah, I think Botswana, and then what's our next best target? Is it Cuba? Just thinking holistically across the board, trying not to get tunnel visioned. Southeast Asia scored. We could overprotect North Korea, but we are going to take back the China card, so I think let's just go Cuba. It is a bit weird leaving Cuba kind of hanging with 2 influence in it, but we've kind of got to do what we got to do at this point. Kitchen debates coup was a failure. So we could go very close to winning the game if we had Africa scoring, but we do not. Perhaps they do. They have spent a lot of time concentrating on Africa here. Oh yes, founded coup. Wow, okay. They must have Africa scoring, I would think. So let's place influence here and here, or here. I think here, because it threatens Zaire without threatening Zimbabwe. Sorry, without threatening Nigeria. KCS, welcome along. Yeah, the one thing that's stressing me out in this one is this grain sales. At least we have the China card. But it is a little stressful. Obviously, if they have Africa scoring here, it's amazing for us. But they do not. They have Brezhnev, so that's probably fill up Canada. No? Okay, threatening Nigeria instead. Fair enough. And threatening Cuba. Alright, so we escaped from that turn of horror and we got into a slightly better hand with which we can hopefully do the thing that we want to do, but we've still got a few issues to deal with here in that we're probably going to have to play Voice of America and puppet governments. Okay, so what do we want to headline? I think we want to headline South African unrest. Or do we want to headline Muslim revolution and kick them out of Egypt and Libya? That's not great. I think we want to use those operations points instead. The other option is to try and press for VPs and to headline ABM treaty, try and coup Panama and Mexico this turn. Yeah, I kind of think we want to fight for Africa, but what's the best way to do that here? It could actually be to headline Latin American death squads. Maybe we just want to headline Latin American death squads and try and control Central America this turn. I think that's probably the best way to go. Like, we've got 2 good coups, and then the problem is, do we have the operations to follow it up? Like, we've got South African unrest. Yeah, that's probably okay. And we can use a 5-year plan on Voice of America instead, assuming all goes well. Yeah, let's give that a go. Okay, Nixon plays the China card. Yep. Well, let's hope that this all goes well, then. What do we want to coup first? I think we want to coup Mexico first. Alright, it's a good start. Yeah, sorry about my time zone. Australian time is a little bit challenging for most other people. We're kind of like right at the end of the time zone list in the world, right before the dateline, which kind of makes it awkward for people who aren't too far to the east of us because they're across the date line, and it makes it hard for people who are quite far to the west of us, i.e. people in Europe. It's just kind of us and our Asian neighbours who share reasonably decent times with each other. So realignment in Cuba, probably. Oh, no, going for Africa, okay. And Cuba, hopefully not. Oof, okay. So this is okay for us. Like, yes, they might have Africa scoring to defray things, but we can kind of try and race them to it by going like this. And then trying the coup on Panama with ABM. Yeah, the America times certainly are better in that you can kind of do evening, morning, and morning, evening, and even some sort of afternoon times from time to time. But yeah, against Europe, it's kind of very awkward times. All right. Well, I mean, we could puppet governments, but we give away Afghanistan, which is pretty annoying. But I think puppet governments is our only playable here, and I think we do need to coup Nicaragua. I think it's just worth too many VPs for us not to do that. Yeah, let's trigger, see where they go. Like, Africa is looking dicey, but like our hand, we didn't really have the luxury with this hand of going to multiple places. So we had to make an election, and I think going for this Central America scoring, given the cards that we had, was decent. We've also got Latin American death squads, remember, so we're at +1 here. Yeah. So they predictably went to Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan. But yeah, that was certainly a big one. Defending Fidel, very important this turn. Now, the biggest one of all is hopefully going to be our next action round. Assuming that we don't get blown out somewhere else and need to respond. Portuguese Empire crumbles, you'll love to see that. Alright, come on. The big coup. 4 or more to give ourselves a very good chance of winning the game. And it's a 2. Alright. Well, looks like we're probably not going to get there this turn then. Depending on what our opponent's got in hand. Okay, so that makes it very hard for us to dominate again, but not impossible. We'll just space this to try and bank that VP. What's up with the TS overlay? It is casting shadows. Shadows, is it? Where's it casting shadows? Oh, brush war and a fail. That is handy. Looks a bit double. What do you guys mean? Like, what's casting shadows? I'm trying to see on my OBS. Oh yeah, it is too. That's super weird. Give me a sec. Let me just. I think I might know what that is actually. Whoa. There we go. That'd be why. because I turned on the game capture, but I didn't turn off the display capture, so I was capturing it twice. So we can't afford to 5-year plan. We can't afford to Voice of America, so we just have to Central America scoring here. Go to 19. Yeah, that does look better. Sorry, it's like my OBS version is really tiny, so I couldn't actually really tell. The only way I could tell was by looking at the top of the screen, actually. So they space raced OPEC, which was probably a good move there. And we'll trigger the 5-year plan first here. Give them a Voice of America, but thankfully we've managed to clean a lot of the terrible cards out of our hand, which is good. And now we get the opportunity to do a couple of things. So what could we do advantageously here? I mean, we're probably going to have to repair. I presume it's going to be North Korea, Pakistan perhaps. So we're going to probably lose one of those. Oh yeah, probably Nigeria, that's true. Yeah, Nigeria, North Korea, Pakistan. Okay, well that's okay, because we didn't actually lose one of our Asian battlegrounds. We just lost Nigeria. Which is going to be awkward because Africa's getting scored next turn, but that's okay in the long run, I think, as long as we don't die to DEFCON. And they take Nigeria. Okay. So they've got the Africa scoring. Alliance for Progress is only 1 VP. There's no way for us to score VP in the headline phase, I don't think. Go hold on to that Warsaw. So we can how I learned in case they don't headline Africa scoring, but why wouldn't they? They surely would want to here. There's no way we can realign South Africa in the headline phase either. Don't want to give them that because we know they've got lone gunmen, although they did get the China card back, so that's a little annoying. We just want to headline Junta and try and press this Central America situation as far as it'll go. Actually, no. Oh, yeah, I think we headline Junta anyway. But if they don't headline Africa scoring, we don't coup. Missile Envy. Well, we can give the Marshall Plan. Sounds okay. Yeah, Junta is always a very solid headline. This is true.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country
Yeah, good question, Childish Bambino. Why not NATO? I think the answer is that I wasn't sure how the rules on that would work. If it's an empty event, does it do nothing? Yeah. It was actually really silly. I just, like, in my head, that didn't make sense. Like, they would get the ops from NATO, but of course they would just get nothing. So that was just a straight-up error. I think we don't want to coup still, even though we have to use Missile Envy. I think we coup Nigeria with Missile Envy, probably. So I think we use this for realignments. We probably... I hate realigning my own countries, but... I kind of want to realign Venezuela just to get rid of their influence. What are the odds? So like a 7% chance that we lose influence. The other option is to put 2 in Dominican Republic and realign Haiti, but that doesn't feel great. I think we put 2 there. I think, yeah, we'll just take this. Okay, and do we take it again? No, I don't think we need to take that risk again. I think we'll just realign El Salvador, perhaps. Yeah. Alright, so action round is Missile Envy coup. And I think it's coup Nigeria. The other option, of course, is to just try and realign in South Africa. But I think with this hand, we've got a few ARs where we can just coup. So we can coup Nigeria. If it's good, then we coup Cameroon. We can try and realign Zaire and South Africa. We just do this. Cool. So it was good. So now our country count is bringing them down from being able to score effectively. They've also got Panama to worry about. So if they fill up Panama, I think we do coup Cameroon and then threaten the realign and make them pull the trigger on the Africa scoring. Interesting. I still think we coup Cameroon here. Do we? Or do we play flower power, put 2 in Panama and put 1 influence in Cameroon? What does that look like? Does that even up Africa? No, it doesn't. So we need to coup in Africa, but they're going to respond. They're not going to take Panama back anyway, I don't think, regardless of what we do. But I think couing Cameroon is right. I think we use special relationship over Alliance for Progress. Alliance for Progress is 1 VP right now that we're saving, but it's 1 op less. But I think the op's actually important to use in the coup because it guarantees us that we take the country even if we roll a 1. Yeah, let's do that. So it's a little harder to use How I Learned to Stop Worrying to gain victory points as the USSR player, because if you play it on your last action round, then they can just respond with a coup. If you put DEFCON to 5. But if they hold the Africa scoring to the end of the turn, then we could do it. I'm still minded, if they don't play Africa scoring right now, then I'm just going to realign South Africa and Zaire. Like, it's too good an opportunity. We also need to be careful because they've got John Paul. So we need to have some ops to protect Poland from that if they choose to event it, because that is another way that we can lose the game. Also, obviously, losing the China card to Nixon last turn was not ideal, and that presents us with the slightly increased risk of DEFCON death, plus the fact that we go to grain sales last turn, didn't we? Yeah, so it's still in the deck, which is concerning. So they chose to just pull the trigger on Africa. Fair enough. So we get to take Panama and then do something else as well, which is probably going to be Pakistan. Or do we just take Panama for now? No, I think we want to overprotect Pakistan. I mean, we kind of want them to give us back the China card, but we'd rather they do it by jamming into North Korea. What do you, actually, if we're playing, we don't really want to play Warsaw Pact because that incentivizes them to jam in Eastern Europe. Probably just special relationship, which we want to get out of our hands so that we can play NATO. And just keep our operations. Because, yeah, I do kind of want to leave Pakistan there as a bit of bait. If they want to flip it, then that's okay with me, because we get back the China card, which gives us a bit of security. And it's also vulnerable to the war. So we're going to space Ask Not at some point this turn. So I'll probably, unless they present us with something crucial, I'll probably do that in the next action round. So we are giving them NATO, sorry, we are giving them Canada and NORAD by doing this. So we know that they've got, actually creates quite a few things that they must have in hand that are interesting. So they've got Lone Gunman and Quagmire. So they are probably going to want to play the China card this turn or space Quagmire. Do we want to space is the question. That's what I'm a bit nervous about. I mean, we don't want to give them Ask Not because it lets them get rid of, well, a scoring card if they have it, a bad scoring card, of which there are 3 that would win us the game right now. So I think Ask Not is probably unplayable, which means we have to space it. Oh wow, okay. They're taking Influence from Quagmire, which gets rid of NORAD and means that they can throw away presumably something that's going to kill them. So how do we want to punish them for that? Like, do we want to just overprotect countries? That feels pretty miserable. Realigning also feels pretty miserable though. Taking Gulf states doesn't feel great. Flipping Lebanon is okay, I guess. Like, it's a bit greedy, but we could always do that. Like, 2, 3. 4. That's okay. Maybe it's better to take Gulf states? I don't know. Okay. So the U2 incident goes. So now what do we do? So knowing that they've got Lone Gunman, Quagmire's gone. I think we still might, we'll hold this because we might use it on our last action round.
Our goal is not the victory of might, but the vindication of right. Not peace at the expense of freedom.
Where can we cause them the most problems here? Africa's scored. We can't really fight in Europe other than to overprotect to prevent ourselves from dying. Like, overprotecting Europe just feels so defensive. I think we probably overprotect Pakistan because their hand seems crunched enough, like they Quagmire themselves, that they might just play the China card anyway. Yeah, okay. Let's just overprotect these Asian battlegrounds. 1, 2... 3, 4. We'll just solidify Eastern Europe. Okay. That explains things a little bit. So 3 cards left in hand for them, and one of them is Lone Gunman. Let's space this. Failure is good, in a way. It means we have to show them our headline, but it means we can still space grain sales, which I'm pretty happy about. There's the John Paul we expected. And so I think we'll just event Warsaw Pact for the plus influence. Will we, or do we want to threaten? So putting DEFCON to 5 here, it's a big risk. Like, it means if they have a scoring card, they lose the game. We have an advantage to some extent in the mid-war regions, although we are a little bit resilient to coups. It makes Libya and Egypt open to coups. It also makes Thailand or Pakistan open to a China card coup. So yeah, I don't think that how I learned to try and win the game is really a winner. Let's just go Czechoslovakia. Event 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Holding how I land is good anyway because it allows us to. It's one way we can stop ourselves dying to DEFCON. Decol. Okay. Cool. 1, 2. Southeast Asia scoring is out of the way, so I'm not super worried about that. Yeah, that US hand, indeed. Not great. Yeah, let's just threaten the big rail lines in Africa. I think is better. I mean, the other option would be to be super greedy, place one in Malaysia, just because I've never placed influence in Australia, try and break Australia and get them out of South Korea, but no. Oh, it's a good coup for them. So we can headline Korean War here. We've got a couple of problems in hand, particularly Star Wars, although we can probably afford to give them North Sea oil. The Iron Lady's okay, but it's a VP. Muslim Revolution's pretty good for us, because we can kick them out of Saudi Arabia and Libya, probably. Fidel's okay. Could always headline Olympic Games instead, as a less risky way. Well, as in it's like, we care less if Olympic Games gets defected. And we can always play Korean War in an action round and have another go at it. But Olympic Games is also a way to lose the game in the headline phase, especially since they get to see our headlines. So let's just not do that. Yeah, I think we headline Korean War. Like, if they have defectors, they have defectors. They could have all sorts of things, obviously. Like, they could have Soviets shoot down, which would be... Gonna try the Olympic event on AR1 if DEFCON is on 3? Yeah, possibly. Depends if they headline Soviets shoot down KL007, really, or some other VP gaining card here, of which there are now many for them in the game. So Reagan bombs Libya doesn't get them anything, but an evil empire, we've got Iron Lady, so that's not available to them. So I guess there aren't that many. It's really just an evil empire and surely there's another one in the late war deck. Another blue card that gains VPs. But they have been, as we know, holding the lone gunman for a couple of turns, so... lots to think about for them. In terms of our hand, it's going to be Star Wars to space. So, yep, it was headline. Soviets shoot down. And it's a coup on Cuba. Or reline Cuba. Reline, okay. Fair enough. So the funny thing is we can still do the Olympic Games gambit if this succeeds. Okay, well it did. So now we get Olympic Games. And I think we probably do. Oh, it's at 2. No, we don't. DEFCON's at 2. Oh my. That was close. Do we know that they have Middle East scoring? Has Middle East scoring come out in the mid-war? Yeah, it came out on turn 3. Okay, so they don't definitely have Middle East scoring, because otherwise I think Muslim Revolution would be the way to go. Iron Lady is not going to be great. Do we coup Haiti, or do we just take Cuba back with Fidel? I don't really have another way to gain VPs. So like we could, I think we just take Cuba back with Fidel. And, or no, that's actually bad. I think we just coup Haiti, because then if they take Cuba, then we Fidel. Yeah, that's heaps better. Not with Muslim Revolution, but rather with the Iron Lady, possibly, or North Sea Oil, because we're going to be spacing Star Wars. So we're going to have to give them the Iron Lady at some point. So let's just do that now. Coup Haiti. Cool. Oh, that was nerve-wracking in my brain. I can imagine how nerve-wracking it was for you guys watching me think about whether to commit suicide with Olympic Games. Dragged it up. Didn't drop it though. So anyway, back to the Korean War. that was a good hit. Picking up South Korea. Just pity that it was slightly too late. Iranian hostage crisis. Okay, so they do take the bait in Cuba, which is sweet. And then we get to follow that up with a Muslim Revolution, or probably actually Star Wars. Ooh, okay. There goes OAS founded. Yeah, we'll definitely space the Star Wars because we don't want to run into a Red Scare Purge to make it unspaceable. And we failed again, which is also, again, not too bad for us. So they haven't managed to kill us with the terrorism, which is nice. Muslim Revolution should do a thing here. Okay, SOCGov goes to space, but no VPs for them. That's good. Muslim Revolution we'll go ahead and do now. Take them out of Libya. I was like, hang on, how do we not dominate? We have so many countries, but we've only got 2 battlegrounds. So the game is correct. We do not dominate. I think we will probably take Saudi Arabia. Okay. Well, we'll take the influence adjacent to South Africa anyway. So we'll go 1, 2, just to really make sure of it in Angola. And then we might realign South Africa. We'll see how we go. Africa has been scored, so I'm not super worried about that. This presumably going in Libya. Yeah. Do we want to hold North Sea Oil? Is what I'm wondering. Yeah, they do have a lot of cards. I'm not... This is a May, and it turns off OPEC, so I'm not super crash hot on that. Let's just realign with this. Doesn't Iron Lady turn off the SOCGov event? That is a good point, Mr. Verbal. Let's have a look at the order of play here. Iron Lady, Sogub, indeed. You are correct, that's a good pickup. So perhaps that makes up for my giving them a free Marshall Plan for no reason last turn, when I could have just discarded NATO. Which would also have prevented NATO from coming into effect. Yeah, very good eye. I didn't pick that up at the time either. Chernobyl. So good thing that we overprotected last turn. Alright. I think we'll probably coup there back with North Sea Oil. Because we want to hold a How I Learn, because I just really don't want to die to DEFCON. Oh, we're going to have to play How I Learned anyway. Yeah. Do we make DEFCON 5? Probably not, because that's just another way to lose, as we discussed last time. And they do have the China card, so... And they've got North Sea Oil, so we'd be giving them 2 action rounds to degrade DEFCON, gain military operations, and coup us across the board. Not super keen on that. Tear down this wall for influence. It's good to see another DEFCON suicide card in the bin. So we'll place into Saudi Arabia. I think we'll ignore the Nicaragua threat, although they do have 2 action rounds now. So I don't really want to get kicked out of Cuba. I'm just going to hold on to this Central America situation. We'll just coup here. Okay. Fidel's looking pretty safe now. So they get 2 action rounds in a row, should they wish to take them. And we've got still 3 scoring cards that win us the game at this point. Okay. That's a good get for them for sure. Especially now. Asia scoring does still win the game, but Defectors is out there, I think. Or is it? No. Yes, it is. Yep. Because it hasn't... Yeah, we had a reshuffle. Duh. Okay. So we're not going to play Asia scoring. I think we'll just play Ames. Because that kind of forces a response from them. The other option is to headline the One Small Step to win that way. I think that's probably better than Ames. Yeah. Because if they defect it, yeah, we just get to Asia scoring. Like having 2 cards in our hand that 100% win us the game makes it pretty hard, I think, for them. Although they could, yeah, I don't think they can have anything. Oh, I mean, that's good, but I think it should still get us there. Yeah. Cool. Oh, yeah. I mean, of course, ours go first. Dope. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the game. It was a little bit tense trying to manage all the ways that we could lose and make sure that we didn't, even though we were so far ahead. It's always, I think, tense. Close games are really tense, but the ones where you're really far ahead, you don't want to punt them somehow. And I did nearly punt it with that Olympic Games, but thankfully avoided that fate. So thanks for watching, and thanks for those who participate in the Twitch chat. We'll see you hopefully next week for another game. Cheers.